Please don't tell my wife this. She would kill me. I mean, to be honest, I would leave my family for you. I just get butterflies when I see you. You are, without a doubt, the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Oh.
It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Shawn Ross Sapp.
And we are live.
What's up, you guys? Listen, your boy, number 90. We are creeping closer to that century mark. And if you all know me, you know I love creeping. Joined by Jimmy Van, founder of Fightful.com. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you, bud?
I'm good.
That's good.
It's a busy week, and that's a good week.
Yeah, we got some interesting stuff happening. We're gonna. It's funny. I was doing some like go home show research today, Shawn. Some go home show research.
Well, I'll tell you what. You didn't have to watch Raw or Smackdown to do any of that research.
That's kind of why I did it. Yeah. So
Nothing
we're gonna.
happened.
Yeah, we're gonna get to that. I want to start off today by talking. First off, great, cute little intro.
Thanks.
I was telling Melissa, I like the way she played with her hair. It's like she knew what she was doing. And you, I'm not going to question what you may or may not have done at the end of that.
Well, I tried, well, a little behind the scenes, I tried to be as awkward as possible, Jimmy, which isn't tough for me.
I was going to say, you're a natural. You're a natural, the awkwardness. So that was good. I want to start off by talking about Renee Young.
Yeah?
So how many wrestling-related decisions can you think of, Shawn, that are universally praised? Like, can you think of anything that you could do, even with, say, All In or the independent friendly stuff?
This show.
All right. Can you think of anything otherwise that is universally praised, and you're going to have to really go a long way to find someone that's going to shit on it? It's hard, and it's rare.
Yeah.
And this is one of those. And kudos to Renee Young, and I'm not being biased because she's a Toronto girl. Not being biased. But she deserves it. She is the new what's her title? Third commentator.
Color commentator.
Oh, okay. She's one of the color commentators on Raw. All right. And they've essentially flipped her and Jonathan Coachman. He's doing the kickoff shows now. I still think if it was me, Shawn, I would probably just kind of let Jonathan Coachman go call golf, and I would have Renee do the kickoff shows too, because that's where her personality really comes through.
I think that Jonathan Coachman can honestly do really well at the kickoff shows. I mean, not better than Renee. Renee's very special.
No, he's never going to be. Yeah.
Renee's a future Hall of Famer, without a doubt. Jonathan Coachman, I think, can be good because he's going to run point guard instead of being the small forward. You know what I'm saying?
I got what you're saying, yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to be as much throwing out as many opinions, really bad ones.
He's the one asking the questions.
Yes, he's asking the questions.
Yeah.
But, I mean, then again, when you're asking the questions to some of those panelists, maybe it's not the greatest thing.
Maybe.
I was saying on the post-Raw show, Booker T's going to have a time with some of these panelists. Because Renee Young kind of keeps him sane.
I just think, again, like we've talked about before, I just feel like Coachman's not happy doing it. Like, I just feel like he's... So. It just seems like he's doing it for a paycheck. I almost wonder if in his head he's thinking professionally I've gone backwards. Like, I wonder if that's what he's thinking. But he just doesn't seem like he's really too happy doing it. So I guess we'll see how the kickoff shows go. I'm fully prepared to see Coachman still with the monotone, with the kind of emotionless face and all that. But I don't know. I guess we'll see what happens.
He drew He drew my disrespect when he was very clearly targeting Dave Meltzer, who, will sometimes report things that aren't factual and inserts his opinions in news stories, which I don't agree with. But to say to this guy publicly in a quote tweet, you have no sources, you never have had any sources, you report nothing but fake news, I was like, that is objectively a lie.
Yeah. And he doesn't know.
That doesn't help.
He doesn't know.
And he doesn't know.
No.
Maybe he's not one of the sources, but...
He's towing the company line. Vince has hated the dirt sheets for years, even though he used to have open dialogue with Dave Meltzer back in the 80s. But
yeah,
it is what it is. Let's move on. So I want to talk about pay-per-view go-home shows. So pay-per-view go-home shows, Raw and SmackDown, Raw especially, used to be really newsworthy shows, Shawn. They used to get you like just excited for the pay-per-view, you know? They'd go off the air and you'd be like, man, I have to order this show on Sunday because it's going to be amazing. And what I did was, because this was, it was 20 years ago, the Hell in a Cell match with Mankind and The Undertaker, and that's what they were plugging this week and everything. I decided to look at the pay-per-view from 20 years ago, which was not called Hell in a Cell. It was called The King of the Ring, 1998. And I looked at the go-home edition of Raw, which took place on June 22nd, 1998, because I wanted to see how did they prepare that go-home show compared to how this year's go-home show was done for Hell in a Cell. And I just wanted to draw a little comparison. So back then, 20 years ago, do you remember the main event of King of the Ring 1998?
Kane and Austin.
Without Googling it? Okay, yes. So it was
First
Kane.
Blood?
Yes, Kane and Austin for the WWF title First Blood match. So that was the main event, right? So when Raw started, when the go-home show started in 1998 for that pay-per-view, they started with an in-ring promo with Kane where he said, if I lose this match on Sunday, I'm going to set myself on fire. Right? Yeah. So immediately everybody's like, oh, baby. So someone's going to bleed. Someone's going to bleed. Kane might get lit up. And so...
Well, here's the thing. Either a title was changing hands or a man is going to set himself on fire.
Right, right. So immediately you're like, well, that's going to be interesting both ways, you know? So there was that. Then throughout the night, they cut to Paul Bearer. He was at home. He was selling injuries from a beating by The Undertaker. They kept cutting to him, getting comments from him, and they did that throughout the night, really driving home the point of what the main event is for the King of the Ring 1998. Then they have Kane squash the Road Dogg in singles competition when the Road Dogg was one half of the tag team champions. Had him squash Kane again to drive the point home that this is like your contender, your top contender for your title. Then they have Austin. I think it was in the final segment. Austin comes out and Kane is in the ring. Kane has arms go up, arms go down, blood comes out, drips all over Austin, gives you that nice visual of Stone Cold covered in blood to go off the air. And that was how they did the go-home show of Raw going into that particular match. And there was other stuff on the show. They had King of the Ring qualifying matches. They had a lot of Taker Mankind stuff, video packages and promos and stuff. But for the main event, that's what they did. Raw this week, the go-home show for Hell in a Cell, they started with a schmoz with the Shield, which they've done for like, what, 3 weeks in a row. Then they had Corbin threaten to arrest them again. Then they had Braun out in the ring, and here comes Roman, and he does the little Death Valley driver through the thing, and you're off the air. And I watched that thinking to myself, man, in comparison...
Makes you want to fire up King of the Ring 98 and watch it, doesn't it?
Kind of.
A 20-year-old show, that Raw makes you want to go back and say, damn, let me watch the pay-per-view that followed it.
Yeah, it kind of did. And the other thing that I couldn't help but notice about this particular episode of Raw this year, like this week, was if you looked at the show outside of, say, the Roman Braun stuff, and if you looked at what they presented Nikki Bella in a match. She's not currently scheduled for Hell in a Cell, right? Yeah. They had the AOP do a squash. They're not currently scheduled for Hell in a Cell. They had Triple H cut a promo. He's not currently scheduled for Hell in a Cell. They had KO do the beatdown of Tyler Breeze and cut a promo. He's also not currently scheduled for Hell in a Cell. Bobby Roode and Chad Gable had another tag. They're not on the pay-per-view. Finn Balor and Elias, they're not on the pay-per-view, although I'm sure Elias is going to do a guitar segment or something. But they're not scheduled or advertised for the show. A 3-hour show, and I realize that it's a split roster now, and I realize that Hell in a Cell, I think most of the featured matches this show are Smackdown matches. But a 3-hour Raw show, and I would say probably 3/4 of it featured non-pay-per-view advertised talent. It just seemed like, what's going on? You know what it felt like to me? It felt like the mentality was, okay, we got to get through this show. We got to get through Hell in a Cell on Sunday, and then we can start focusing on what's really important, which is Evolution and Super Showdown. And that felt to me like that's the mentality. We got to get this through the show, and we got to get through this pay-per-view so that we can focus on the important stuff.
Yeah, there was nothing about Raw that made me say, damn, I got to watch Hell in a Cell Sunday. Working for this website makes me say, damn, I've got to watch Hell in a Cell Sunday. That's really the extent of it. An 8-match card, and I'm okay with that. Don't get me wrong.
I mean, some of the matches look good, and I've got the card here. And I got to tell you, I hate to use the word optimistic, Shawn, But I'm actually optimistic about some of the matches on this card. So let's talk about the card. So they've got Universal title, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman. Mick Foley is going to be the guest referee. It's in the cage. I think that they're going to do something. Do you remember Austin when the Big Show debuted?
Yeah.
Big Show picked up Austin, threw him against the cage, cage open. Stone Cold technically won, but it didn't, hurt anybody. Yeah. I could see them doing something like that. I could see Braun throwing Roman into the cage and it breaks, or I could see Braun breaking the cage and Roman rolls out. I could see them doing something like that so that Roman retains, but they don't hurt Braun in the process.
I would love to see them bring back the old style cage, like for a special attraction or something.
You mean the blue cage?
The blue cage, they turned it black for a while. I mean, it's a pain in the ass. Every wrestler I've ever talked to that wrestled in one said, I hope they never bring it back because it hurt a lot. Yep. But they also wanted to be different from WCW, and it was easier to climb.
Yes.
But I think that would be a nice little attraction for one of these, like a Super Showdown show. Like the old style cage, bring it back. I mean, it would have kind of made sense to do like a Triple H Undertaker match, 2 people from that era in that type of match.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Maybe they can bring that back.
I mean, if they still have it. They don't need to construct a new one.
Oh, it's in the warehouse, Shawn.
Yeah.
You know it is. Next one is WWE title, AJ Styles, Samoa Joe. I know that you've been speculating they're going to let Styles go the full year with the title.
Hoping they do, just because at this point, why not? But I feel this has been okay. The promos leading up to it, but AJ Styles wrestling on TV is special now. He never wrestles on TV.
Which is how it should be with guys. It should be like that with guys. Now, I personally am looking forward to this match. I've been finding the whole thing entertaining. Daniel Bryan, Brie, The Miz, Maurice. I find the whole thing kind of funny, and we haven't seen the best out of Daniel Bryan in terms of his in-ring because of who he's dealing with, but it's been kind of entertaining. I've been digging it, so that's going to be a tag match. I think Bryan's got to get his win back.
I think Brie gets the win, so they can put her over heading into Evolution.
Makes sense.
And then The Miz can continue to say, you didn't beat me, you didn't beat me. That's what I would do. And then eventually you can go back to it.
Raw Women's title, Ronda Rousey, Alexa Bliss. There's only one outcome. Only one outcome. Yeah. It might be one of the most predictable matches in the history of WWE. They can't go in any other direction.
This is why I keep preaching against mandatory rematches. Why did you need to do this again?
Right.
You didn't need this match again.
Yeah. SmackDown Women's title, Charlotte versus Becky. I'm optimistic, man. I'm optimistic. I'm feeling it. Bret Hart, Steve Austin, WrestleMania 13, Shawn. I'm optimistic, man. Double turn territory. I feel like that's where we're headed.
It should be that. And if not that, Charlotte should cheat to win. But the thing is, you don't have Becky come out and bitch about it. Doesn't matter. Nobody wants to hear a crybaby. Like nobody cheered when Tito Ortiz would get on the mic and say, "I came into this fight with 7 bulging discs. I'm going to be paralyzed." Nobody likes that.
I found it interesting on SmackDown. Charlotte went down to the ring. She's smacking hands with the fans and stuff. And I watched that thinking, when's the last time she did that? Because she usually goes out there holding her robe and she's got that poise when she goes out. And this time she's smacking hands. I understand the selfie thing on the way out. That was leading to the Becky attack. But going in, she's smacking hands, and I'm watching that going, she's trying too hard to be a good guy. She's trying too hard. So I feel like there's going to be something on the show as well, so I'm optimistic about that. Jeff Hardy, Randy Orton, Hell in a Cell. Jeff, don't die, my friend.
Yeah, this match doesn't need to go. It doesn't need to go to 2025. It's going to go.
No.
I wish it was a sprint, and I wish it would last about 12, 13 minutes.
Yes.
Action-packed. But when you have 8 matches on this show, and Rousey Bliss isn't going long.
Yes. I mean, they can add more matches to it. They can add more to it, but we don't need to see Jeff miss the swanton off the top of the cage.
We'll get a random kickoff match, like maybe the B team gets a squash, so they can get their heats back.
Yeah, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. But we don't need, what's Jeff now, 40, 41? We don't need to see him do a swanton off the cage and miss and take that bump, because that's the obvious thing they might do. We don't need to see it, man. Or what if he does a jump off the cage and Orton catches him with the RKO, which is still a tough bump to take from the top of the cage? Don't need to see it. We don't need to see it.
Have it in this week's Fightful Wrestling Weekly, which I cover at FightfulSelect.com, our premium service on the Weekender podcast. Also, our buddies at PWU covered that as well. Check them out. But I was told this is basically a favor to Jeff. It is what everybody expects it to be.
He's been talking about that, too, about how that's something he wanted to do.
He wanted to do it.
Yeah. SmackDown tag, New Day, Rusev, Aiden English. I'm optimistic again, Shawn. I'm optimistic again because I feel like they're going to give Rusev a shot. I feel like they're going to give it a shot, but they need new goddamn music. They need new babyface music.
Yes.
Otherwise, I'm optimistic they're going to give it a shot. I know the New Day just re-won the titles, but they won them because Rowan went down to injury. I feel like they're going to give it a shot, and they're going to put the titles on Rusev and Aiden English. So I really hope they don't do the English turn. That would be a bummer.
Yeah.
You know?
What they need to do is have Rusev Day win and turn New Day heel.
That'd be interesting.
Look at the lay of the land on SmackDown. Who are the heel teams right now?
Sanity.
That's it.
The Bar.
The Bar. That's really it. Can you go back to the Bar? I've been told that WWE doesn't have a lot of faith that Sheamus is going to be around a year from now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's not. Well, he's feeling fine. Maybe his body isn't as much, but
I got it.
And actually, from what I've been told, he's gained a lot of respect within the company for pushing through that and continuing to work. But you've beaten Sanity to death. You have the Bar. If you have Rusev Day and the Usos on the good side of things, and then maybe another babyface team, I can't think off the top of my head, but what more can New Day do as babyfaces right now?
I think the only problem is that Vince is going to look at their merch sales.
That's true. That's true. That's
you know, that means everything to him. I think he's going to look at that and say, "Oh, we can't screw that up. They have a book that just came out, and you know."
That's a good point. I look at things more from a creative aspect. So yeah,
I'm looking dollars all the time. So that's probably what they're thinking.
I only look at that when I submit my invoice to you, Jimmy.
Oh, I know. I spent a lot of time looking at that.
Got that Adobe Premiere CC 2018
and combing over it.
Oh,
that's nice. And Raw tag titles, Drew and Dolph, Seth and Ambrose. I think Drew and Dolph retain. I would love the idea of having multiple titles held by a guy, kind of like the old Hart Foundation days. So seeing Seth with the IC title and the tag titles would be new and different. But I think they're going to retain. I think Braun's going to interfere. And then that's just going to help build up the Roman match that much more. So
yeah, I think they're going to retain as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, now a couple things about Hell in a Cell. First off, I want to talk about Mick Foley. So I thought that he looked amazing on Raw this week. We hadn't seen him in like a year and a half. He was heavier then. He had that bad limp going to the ring. This time the guy's hustling down there. He's got this pep in his step. He practically did a little run to get onto the apron. He had his hip surgery. He had his knee surgery. And I thought that he physically looked the best he's looked in years. So
yeah, I did too.
Good for him.
Everybody keeps asking if he'll take a bump. I don't believe he'll take a bump.
No, I don't think so either.
I thought for sure we were getting a Sacco spot there.
Oh, yeah? Really?
I thought we were. And I mean, if he could do anything, he'd get hit in the back with a guitar.
I think he'll try the Sacco spot with Braun. He's going to try it with Braun.
Really?
Yeah. But it's not going to work out for him.
No, it's not going to work.
But I think he'll try it with Braun. So we'll see how that goes.
Interesting.
And then another thing I wanted to talk about, and again, this is kind of what I just said. I'm feeling optimistic, not just because of the Rusev Day, they look like they're going in the right direction, not just because it looks like they're going to pivot with Charlotte. I'm optimistic when I look at Lio Rush with Bobby Lashley.
I am too. So
that's unique, right?
Ran a story this morning. I immediately reached out when I saw him because Drew Gulak being on Raw, okay, that was a little surprising to me. I was like, okay, he didn't wrestle, so why is he there? They don't fly most of these guys into Raw anymore. Mm-hmm. Then I saw Drake Maverick, and I was like, all right, they're pivoting. They reached, and they got somebody. And then when I saw Lio Rush with Bobby Lashley, I was like, something's up.
Yeah.
There's been a paradigm shift backstage. So I talked to some people with knowledge of the situation. They said that basically these 205 Live guys are sometimes working 1 to 6 days a month. Mm-hmm. WWE has them under contract. They want to maximize the return on their investment. And there has been a major, I don't want to say major push, but a heavy push backstage to reintroduce managers. And this is kind of Vince McMahon's ways of dipping his toes into the water. And I don't think it's any coincidence that the 3 guys you've seen on Raw from 205 Live, Drew Gulak, even though it's been in a different setting, Drake Maverick, Lio Rush, all those guys can talk. All of them can talk.
The one thing I think is shitty is if they think, well, Bobby needs something because he's been floundering, when the creative's not his problem. You know what I mean? They're putting him in the ring meditating with Jinder Mahal. They're having him feud with Elias for really no reason. They're doing a thing where he's beating Sami Zayn with a vertical suplex.
friggin' sister promo.
Yeah, like that's not Bobby Lashley's fault. So if their mentality is, oh, he needs something because he's floundering, not his fault. But I think that these guys would be great together. Why not turn Bobby heel? He was good in TNA. I'm sorry, Impact. You know,
he was TNA then, but he's 15-2 as an MMA fighter.
Right.
Like he is you can say what you want about the quality of opponent. He's got a good record. So yeah, they're pivoting a little bit and moving towards using managers and.
Hey, you know something? Brock's not there, and WWE loved the realism behind Brock Lesnar. Why not make Bobby Lashley your Brock Lesnar?
And then if
you do
Brock comes back,
exactly,
have them face each other.
Shawn, this isn't that hard, man. Come on.
It's not that hard.
You and I are talking about this stuff off the cuff like this.
It's not that.
It's not that hard.
Yeah.
That's what they need to do. I would even, because Brock's not there, I would even consider putting MMA shorts on Lashley. I would.
Yeah.
You know? Because Brock's not there.
Too.
And weren't Lashley's MMA shorts the tight GSP style?
Yeah.
Weren't they? There you go. Put him in the MMA shorts that he used to wear. This isn't that hard, Shawn.
I asked a little bit more about 205 Live, and I've been told they're really hot and cold about any changes because I've heard a lot about, oh, maybe they're changing nights, maybe they're canning it, maybe they'll go on the road, but hot and cold on making any firm plans because last year they tried to invest in 205 Live heavily. They had Enzo Amore there, didn't work out. They had Neville there, didn't work out. When they were pushing Rich Swann, didn't work out. So that's Austin Aries, didn't work out. That's 3 and plus Rich Swann, 4 guys that they really, really pushed on that show that they wanted to make that special to the point to where they had Enzo Amore in main event segments on Raw.
Right.
And they were good main event segments too. So it's hard for them to just jump all in on that. But if Leo Rush proves valuable, man, this is a great thing for Bobby Lashley and it's a great thing for Leo Rush because I don't know how many people who don't watch 205 Live even know that he was on that show.
Do you remember how Jimmy Hart used to get tossed all over the place by like the Junkyard Dog and Roddy Piper? Imagine Leo Rush with his athletic ability, his aerial ability. Imagine him getting tossed around as Lashley's second. The guy'd be awesome.
Imagine him getting tossed around, and then instead of flying, he lands on his back and shoulders, then pops right back up to his feet.
There you go. There you go.
And Bobby Lashley knocks the shit out of whoever did it.
Right.
Leo Rush is, without a doubt, the most incredible athlete I've ever seen in pro wrestling. I had to see him in person to believe him, and I was able to do that when I went to Orlando last year. I got to see, I think it was him in Velveteen Dream. That was fun. And there was this opening series, if you go back and watch it, September of last year. I've never seen someone move like that in a ring before, and I've seen Ricochet wrestle, and I thought Ricochet was, at that time, the most incredible person like that I'd ever seen. Leo Rush is something special, and he has it on the mic.
He is really good. He is.
And he learned. He's still very young, and I'm hoping he learned from the Emma situation after that tweet because he's back in the fold.
Yep, he is. We'll see what happens. Let's move on and talk about Mr. CM Punk. Isn't it interesting that CM Punk, so he leaves WWE, whatever that was now, I don't even know anymore. 2014.
January.
Okay, he leaves WWE. He is the baby face with wrestling fans, right? Leaves WWE, he's got a staph infection that's like mistreated, and he's got Triple H saying all this shit about him taking drug tests and stuff. He's the baby face, right? Then all he had to do was spend the next 3-4 years talking shit about pro wrestling, crapping all over pro wrestling, going into the UFC, getting his ass kicked against plugs, although Gall wasn't a plug, but the other guy was. Yeah. And then, allegedly, promising Colt Cabana that he'll cover his legal fees, reneging on it. And now, in that 4-year span, he has kind of shifted from the wrestling fan darling babyface to the asshole with most wrestling fans. Don't you agree that he's kind of done that pivot? Speaking of pivots?
To a degree, yeah. I mean, in 4.5, 5 years, Fightful and WrestleZone are the only 2 outlets that have anything to do with wrestling that he's spoken to. And we had to go to his media day in, I think it was Milwaukee. Steve went there, and to his court case to get those. Yeah. To get those. He has no interest in that. I mean, he does the thing at Pro Wrestling Tees. Yeah. And actually, when I spoke to a penis druid last week, when I spoke to a penis druid exclusively on FightfulWrestling.com, he said that Punk was in great spirits at the signing.
Right.
nobody was asking him about All In. That probably helped contribute to his positive attitude. But
Or Mike Johnson, or what was the guy's name that knocked him out or that beat him?
Mike Jackson.
Mike Jackson. Yeah, that's right. I'm assuming nobody talked to him with Mike Jackson either, right?
Yeah, I get the feeling Mike Johnson might be the only person
CM
Punk right now.
So let's talk about Punk. So he was interviewed this past week by 411 Mania and by Ariel Helwani, who people might know from MMA fighting, and now he's with ESPN.
So he's been interviewed by 411 too. They have a.
That's what I just said, by 411, and he was doing it to promote Ultimate Beastmaster, which is a reality show on Netflix, and Punk is the host this season for the American team or whatever. So that was the catalyst for him doing these interviews. But of course, when you're going to do these interviews with those types of media, they're going to ask you about wrestling or they're going to ask you about MMA. And so he was asked about training MMA. He said, quote, "As soon as I wrap here, meaning doing the interviews and all that, I'll be right back in the gym." He was asked by 411 if he's going to fight again, and he said, quote, "I don't know. I'm focused on this movie right now. You'll have to ask me when we wrap," which is in a couple weeks. He's talking about a movie that he's doing. It's a small budget movie called Girl on the Third Floor. So that's what he's doing right now. Then when he was interviewed by Ariel Helwani, he said mostly the same stuff. He said that he was not given a firm offer to do All In, which is something you hear a lot out of Punk. You know, you'll hear him ask, you know, "Are you going to do this show or are you going to do this show?" And so I was like, well, I haven't gotten a firm offer. I know that the Young Bucks have said, well, we hit him up and said, "Are you available? Do you want to do it?" Punk's mentality is, if you don't say, "Here's my opponent, here's the dollar amount," then to him it wasn't an offer, which I guess is kind of fair. But so he said that, and then he also said, when it comes to wrestling, quote, "There's nothing that interests me in wrestling." Do you think he's following wrestling at all? Because given the current landscape, given this revolution, as Jericho calls it, with the independent scene, how can he say there's nothing interesting about pro wrestling unless he's either not following it or he's still pretty sour about it?
I think he worked himself into a shoot, Jimmy. I think that when he went on the Cabana Show, which I think are two of the all-time best podcasts in wrestling history, those are incredibly enlightening podcasts and very transparent. He was so negative that I think that he feels like he would go back on his word almost if he jumped right back in. Now, to be fair, he did say, "Oh, I'm not going to say never, ever, ever," but he has at times.
He told Chris Van Vliet.
He told Chris Van Vliet.
He said never, ever. That's what he said.
It's really, really hard to tell, but also in those interviews, like, I mean, I know 4-on-1 didn't ask him about wrestling at all.
They were probably told not to, maybe.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when I was told that he was doing media interviews for Ultimate Beastmaster, I was told, well, I'm pretty sure you could probably land it, but no wrestling, little MMA. I'm like, I don't really have that much interest in talking to him about Ultimate Beastmaster. I don't know what the shit an Ultimate Beastmaster is. I later find out it's like American Ninja Warrior.
What if somebody asked him a question like, "Hey, so what do you think about Triple H as a competitor in Ultimate Beastmaster?"
Triple H would be the shits at Ultimate Beastmaster.
I'm just saying it'd be a way to get Punk to talk about Triple H.
I guess so.
You know?
As Dang MQ is saying in our live chat, Punk would be great on Being the Elite. That would be really entertaining stuff. I thought he was pretty great on Ariel Helwani's show, and he went off about UFC interim welterweight champion Colby Covington, saying that Colby Covington appealing to the right wing and the Make America Great Again and the Donald Trump demographic was lowest common denominator. But we have an in with Colby Covington. James Lynch speaks to him almost every other month and actually talked to Colby about his appearance with WWE Backstage, him talking to Rousey, and CM Punk's comments.
This is good stuff. This is good stuff.
The other thing that happened recently, not recently, I should say maybe a month or so ago, you went to Raw. It was going on. I actually talked to Dan Lambert when he was in Calgary, there for some of the ATT guys, and obviously you got a good chance going there. How was that whole experience getting to see Raw backstage?
Oh, Raw was an eye-opener, man. It was an unbelievable experience. Be able to go backstage and see all the pro wrestlers, get to hang out with Kurt Angle, my good friend Bobby Lashley from American Top Team, me and Dan Lambert and John Hartnett. We got to see it all. We hung out with Ronda Rousey. We got to share a good moment with her for 20, 30 minutes, just talking, sharing stories about fights and stuff. So it was a cool opportunity. I got to talk to Paul Heyman. He was running me through some stuff. And, everybody's just stand-up people there. And the pro wrestling world, they really respect the MMA world. So, the thing is I'm doing pro wrestling better than the pro wrestlers are doing. So, it was a great moment. we got to see all those guys and see what the future holds, because that's what I feel like the future holds for me. I'm going to go over there and be a WWE champion. What's up, Vince McMahon?
Yeah, is there any progress on that? You talked about that last time, about there has been talks. Was there any further conversations with Vince when you were there?
Yeah, I know Dan Lambert, my manager, is in talks. I let him do that. I just focus on training and getting better in all aspects of my life and wrestling and fighting and as a person. So, I leave that up to my agent, Dan Lambert, and I know he's talking to him, but first things first, I'm still competitively hungry and I still have the itch to defend what's mine. That's this belt. So, I got to go out there and defend this belt against the #1 contender, Tyquil Woodley, and then we'll talk about WWE after that.
Just one more thing. You mentioned talking to Ronda Rousey. Anything specific you guys talked about, backstage? You mentioned swap and fight stories. Anything cool that came out of that?
She was just telling us, about her, about all the promotion that led up to her fights and how she wanted to sell the fights and this and that. But she's a really humble person. I know she gets a lot of slack from the media, for all her antics and the way she promoted fights. And she was always that girl that was in the girl's face. And everybody says she's a snob, but she's actually a really humble person. She gives back a lot of her time. She donates a lot. And she's just a good person. She was telling us some funny stories about like Twizzlers, how, Twizzlers is one of her sponsors and just how she gives away Twizzlers to a lot of kids. So, she's just a good person, and she's one of the biggest names in the WWE now. So I'm excited for her success and wish her nothing but continued success.
Another big name in the WWE is CM Punk. And I don't know if you saw yesterday, he called you racist. What were your thoughts on that? Him going after you?
This is also coming from a guy that stole all his wrestling moves from Kenta. So, he's a fake motherfucker. So you can't believe anything that comes out of his mouth. So, I didn't hear those remarks. I don't pay attention to someone who's irrelevant to MMA. I mean, the guy's a complete joke. Don't use my name to try and get some notoriety and clout in the MMA world, because you're a joke, man. You're 0-2 in the UFC against 2 bums they had to bring in. So CM Punk should stick to his little bullshit and leave the prime time to me.
That full interview is up at FightfulMMA.com. We have stories going up all week on this interview. YouTube.com/Fightful, FightfulMMA.com. It's crossover, so you'll see it on the wrestling side of things as well. Colby had plenty to say.
That is one of the more unique matchups that will never happen.
Yeah.
Because Punk says he doesn't want to do pro wrestling, and in the MMA cage, Colby would kill him inside of 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen. Too bad, because can you imagine the promo work between Punk and Colby Covington?
Yeah, I think Punk would probably shit all over him in the promo department, to be honest with you.
Oh, he would. And you notice in that, because we know that Colby is just playing a character, and everybody gets that. He was pretty low-key for most of this interview with James, because I think that's kind of like the real Colby.
Yeah.
Until he starts, because he's learned from like Conor McGregor, you've got to market yourself. You've got to play a character.
My favorite thing about those interviews, and we've got probably 6 interviews with Colby Covington up on Fightful.com, is watching James Lynch try not to crack up during all these, because you see James, and James is a consummate professional. He really is. And to see him try not to bust out laughing is phenomenal.
Friends of mine that see James stuff, sometimes they joke with me and they're like, is he in a hotel room? Like, where the hell is he?
Sometimes he is. Sometimes he's in a hotel room.
Well, apparently, his new place in BC, apparently he has an office. So,
yeah.
So good for James.
Did you see, well, hold on. Did you see the promo that Randy Orton, or that Jeff Hardy cut on Randy Orton this week?
No, I missed it.
On SmackDown? You didn't?
No.
Okay,
I have children, Shawn.
Well, I love that at the end he was like, and after tonight I'm going straight to hell. Enjoy the show! The first thing that he said was, at Hell in a Cell, Randy Orton wants to inflict a load of pain on me. And let me tell you, if you want to get in the mood to inflict a load,
oh, here we go.
our buddies at BlueChew.com have you covered. And maybe you'll have somebody else covered after you inflict a load.
Oh, no. Come on. Come on.
Use that code FIGHTFUL.
Are we going to get kicked off YouTube?
No. Use that code FIGHTFUL to get your first shipment free. Just pay $5 shipping. Our boys at BlueChew.com will get you in the mood. They'll give you that extra confidence in the bedroom. They use the same FDA-approved active ingredients as Viagra and Cialis, so you know they work. But it comes in a chewable, so they work way faster. You can take them anytime, day or night, even on a full stomach. They are prescribed online, shipped straight to your door in a discreet package. No in-person doctor's visit. No waiting at the pharmacy, rather. And best of all, no more awkwardness. They're made in the USA, and since Blue Chew prepares and ships direct, they're cheaper than a pharmacy. Go ahead, my friends. Take the dive off of that cell right into it. BlueChew.com. Code Fightful. Let them know you heard about them from us on Twitter at GetBlueChew. I'm stumbling over my words. I was so excited to inflict a load.
How long have you been waiting to...
A day. We didn't have a Blue Chew segue last night, so I had to save it.
No, but I was curious how long you've been waiting to try to, subtly suggest facials on the Listen Your Boy podcast. Like, how long have you been trying to sneak that in there like that? Did you mute yourself? Oh, he's just bullshitting.
I will hurt you.
Did you screw something up, Melissa?
I haven't even touched it yet. Did you actually? Is he screwing up?
I think he got so excited about the Blue Chew promo that something happened and he knocked out the mic. All right, let's move on because he might be full of shit. So let's move on. I want to talk about... our audio-only listeners right now, Shawn, can't see anything that you're doing. I don't know if he's full of shit, Melissa. Let's move on. I want to talk about the time off cycle thing again. And we've talked about... No, I can't hear you.
All right, hold on.
Did you do something, Melissa?
I didn't even click it.
You sure?
Yeah. Oh, what the heck, Shawn?
I think Melissa did something. She did something.
I will always blame Wirecast.
Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. I have no idea what you just said. Let's do this. Air the second clip that you were going to air later, Melissa. Mm-hmm. Air it now. This is with the penis druids from the All In telecast. Air that video now, and then we can try to work out Shawn's audio while we're working on that. And Nigel, get in here, please.
I'm not sure how many people knew Joey was back there. Obviously the Jacksons and Cody knew, but we went as far as rehearsing. Cody brought us out on stage and kind of went over the gist of, this is what's going to happen. And, we did as much as we could without actually bringing out any of the costumes or bringing Joey out. And for Hangman Page to just trust us that we'd be able to, carry him out of the ring in those costumes and not drop him, I personally thanked him after the show for that, because that's awesome of him to trust us to do that, because those costumes weren't the easiest to walk in. They were a little weird around the knees, so it kind of made it a little hard to walk up, and especially having to walk up the stairs. Thank God none of us dropped him. We were able to get him out of there, and yeah, it was basically done on no rehearsal. We all knew what we were doing. We all had all right, this is what you're doing, this is what you're doing. But for it to run as smooth as it did, that in and of itself is awesome, because I watched it back a few times on TV, and me seeing it, I'm like, oh my God, we got lucky. But I don't know how it came off. People, I would assume that we went over that, practiced it a few times, but no, we absolutely had no time to, run through that and carry Page, Hangman Page out of the ring prior just to make sure we could do it. Luckily it just, we had luck on our side.
Were there any issues like carrying him, any grip, any balance issues?
No, not really. It was going up the stairs that you couldn't look down, so luckily nobody tripped. We all, when we were going up there, everyone kind of, you good? We all had them pretty tight, and if we figured if one person can hold them up, they drop them a little bit, we'll all sort of put them down a little bit just so that it looks like we're all in unison and not, one penis wasn't as strong as the others.
As is often the case.
Yeah,
We're back.
We're all back.
And the best thing is, right now, I can see Melissa on the screen to my left.
This.
Oh, you can?
Why
Yeah,
don't
'cause we
we
called him
have
on-
this set up all the time?
No.
We could start doing that.
What's wrong?
Because right
Look
now,
at a tiny window up at the top.
you know what's funny? Right now, I can't see Melissa because the monitor's in my way, so I
Oh,
can't
that's
see her.
fantastic. I
Yeah.
can right now. I can see Nigel standing right next to her. I
Really?
can see her moseying around looking.
Well, how about that? How about that? All right, let's try to get some semblance of reality and move on here.
Yeah.
So we've talked in the past about time-off cycles for WWE talent. Remember we were talking about they signed the new contract, like $1.325 billion for Raw and like $1 billion for SmackDown over 5 years. And we talked about the talent's going to want their piece. The talent's going to want their piece. What can you do to appease the talent? The suggestion that I had was cover their hotels for live events.
Yeah.
Give them a per diem for food, and implement time off cycles. And the reason that I like the idea of time off cycles is because you give them a couple months off, maybe once or even twice a year. They get to rest up, they get to heal up, they come back rejuvenated, they come back excited. And you know the whole thing about absence makes the heart grow fonder. The fans will be happy to see them, and they'll be a hotter act. The problem that I'm having right now with WWE TV is that you have all this elite level talent, like Shinsuke Nakamura, like Asuka, Kevin Owens, Bobby Lashley, Sasha Banks, Bayley, that is not on television every week. In some cases, they haven't been on television in weeks. But it's not because of a time-off cycle, Shawn.
Yeah.
They're still doing live events, and they still make little cameos on television, like Asuka's little bullshit with Feel the Glow and all that crap.
That was terrible.
Yeah, they still make cameos. It's because creative clearly has no idea what to do with these people. Like, they clearly just don't know what to do with them. And so my question is, why don't you set up some little injury angle or something? Get Asuka off TV for a couple months. Let her go home. Get Shinsuke off TV. Drop the U.S. title. Let him go home. Let them go home for a couple months. Even do the videos like they used to do to tease he's coming back. And then, boom, he comes back hotter than he was before he left. They clearly have too much talent now, and they don't know what to do with everybody. And again, these are elite-level guys. This is not Kurt Hawkins. This is Shinsuke, right?
And you want to know what's funny about Kurt Hawkins? Kurt Hawkins has had to physically go to WWE Creative and say, please do not end my losing streak. It's the only thing creative I have.
Yes, I agree.
And the fact that he has to go to them and say that speaks volumes. Ultimately, it is one guy at the top, but man, the creative has nothing for you shit, that's ridiculous. Look at what Dave Lagana has done with nothing in the NWA.
It's true.
I literally wrote a long-form article about how Tim Storm was only a guy I knew from Wikipedia when I would check and see who the NWA champion was.
Right.
And they made me care about that title.
Right.
To the point to where it was on All In. That title is not on All In without 10 pounds of gold in that series. It's not.
Shinsuke Nakamura, in my opinion, should be the top guy in the SmackDown brand. In my opinion. When he was in NXT, he had 15,000 people at Barclays in Brooklyn singing his music. He goes to the main roster. He's got WWE audiences singing his music, and they decided, hey, let's have him start like hitting people in the balls. Let's try a heel turn with him. Let's change his music so that people can't sing it anymore. They're still trying to sing it, Shawn. Even though now they've got the Japanese rap in the middle of it, they're still trying to sing it because they want to cheer for Shinsuke Nakamura. The guy is an elite level talent. And they're using him as a pawn right now, Shawn, for Orton and Jeff Hardy. They're using him as a pawn for another feud because they have nothing for him, and it's a real shame. He's such a talent, you know.
They've rendered him useless, and that's not okay for a guy that special.
He's so elite. Like, I'm a massive Shinsuke Nakamura fan. That guy's elite, and he looks like a star, and he carries himself like a star, and his whole presentation and his music and everything. The guy is just elite. And they just don't know what to do with him. It's a real shame.
And there are a lot of guys that they just took just to take. I don't think Nakamura is one of the guys they took just to take.
Right.
Neither is AJ.
Right.
But, I mean, Tama Tonga turned down their offer 2 or 3 times, he said. And you speak about the hotel and all that stuff. Ronda Rousey even says that she has to pay for her own, I believe.
What? No way.
I believe I heard that
no
right.
way. Where'd you hear that?
I feel like she said it in an interview recently. I gotta double check on that. Although I would like to make this a show where we do absolutely no research and embrace that. I get paid trans and hotel for regional amateur MMA commentary, Jimmy.
You get paid trans and hotel for a wrestling and MMA combat sports crossover website that is in the red.
Hey, well,
and you get paid transit hotel.
I'm just gonna say I might start taking more trips then, if that's the case. But
that makes sense for an in-red venture,
right?
Oh
right?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, based on some of the freelancers I've worked with in the past, yeah, it does.
Fair. All right, this is the perfect segue from the not knowing what to do with the elite level talent to stupid people. Go ahead, Melissa.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
All right, thanks again to trevorstrong.org for the usage of the stupid song. You know, every now and then, Shawn, and it's rare, but every now and then, we'll have somebody on social media say, hey, do you think maybe Stupid People News has run its course? And my answer for that is no. No, it is not. Because I like it, I think Shawn likes it, Melissa giggles through it, I think it's funny, we're going to keep doing it, and it's a nice little break, so we're going to keep doing it. And I got a couple doozies today, Shawn. I think this first one you've probably heard about because it was everywhere, so you probably heard about it.
Okay.
This first one was reported by NBC Connecticut on September 7. So there was a 30-year-old woman in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and she was at her home with her family, and they had thunderstorms in Bridgeport, and it knocked out the power. All right. She thought, this is no problem. They had just bought the home 2 years prior. And she remembered that the previous owners had left a bunch of stuff in the basement. And one of the things that they had left was some candles. And so the woman, the 30-year-old woman from Bridgeport thought, awesome, I'm just going to go down, I'll grab a candle, we can get some light going in the house. Not a big problem at all. Goes down and gets it, but there was an issue. Any idea what the issue might have been?
Her dick fell off.
It wasn't a candle, it was a stick of dynamite.
Oh, no! Did she die?
Well, it went off. She lit it. It exploded. It caused extreme injury to her hand. As of last word, she might lose several fingers. And even worse, you want to talk about resources, even worse, this incident resulted in state police, the state fire marshal, the state police POM squad, the Bridgeport police officers, and firefighters, and staff from the city fire marshal's office. They all had to respond. They had to evacuate houses on either side of the victim's house as a precaution. And all because she wanted to get some light for her family when the power went off at her house.
Oh, that's sad. I don't even know if that qualifies. Like, I don't know that if I saw a stick of dynamite that I would know. I mean, I know what it looks like on cartoons.
How do you not know that that's a candle or not?
Does it have TNT on the... Jimmy, you thought my candle was a cupcake.
I did, but I was also sitting from afar and I'd had a couple beers.
True.
And I did. I thought it was a cupcake. I did. But I would know if I picked something up if it's a candle or a stick of dynamite. I'm going to know.
It's true.
So there was that.
Why did they have a stick of dynamite? Did they figure that out?
Well, say that again?
Why did they have a stick of dynamite?
The previous owners left it in their basement. Who knows why they had it? They left it there. This
That's
next
the
one,
question I want answered.
This next one was reported by RTTV out of Russia on August 31st. And this is good too. So there's a man in St. Petersburg. And his name is Pavel Baranenko. And he's the leader of a patriotic organization known as Red Star. So it's kind of like a pro-Russia organization, right? In the past, this guy, Mr. Baranenko, he had illegal weapons seized from his home by authorities. He had a live crocodile seized from his home by authorities. This time around, Shawn, he had a World War II era tank seized by authorities. Why do you think authorities took that tank, that World War II era tank, from Mr. Pavel Baranenko? He was offering, this past spring, he was offering rides on the beach for 300 rubles, which is a little over $4 US.
Wow, that's a steal of a deal.
That's a steal. That's a steal. So he had people, and one of those rides featured a man and two boys aged 10 and 15, and there's video courtesy of RTTV. Here's what happened. Go ahead and play that clip, Melissa.
fucking god!
Now the good news is, so for our audio
language, guys, I'm trying to clean it up. But
for our audio only listeners, the kids fell off the tank and it rolled over top of them. Fortunately, they escaped with only minor injuries.
Oh wow!
Because the tank has those treads, and so they were in the middle. So it went over them, and they only suffered minor injuries. This video that we just saw was uploaded online. As you can imagine, it got a lot of attention locally, led authorities to Mr. Baranenko, and they seized his tank.
I would hope.
Isn't that amazing? Can you imagine giving out tank rides on the beach for $4 US?
Once you run over a couple kids, you might as well run over the people with the cameras, too. Got to get rid of those witnesses.
Might as well. Yeah, might as well. This last one, you might have heard of this one, because this one's football related. This is for the SRS file, and it was reported by Cleve.
Did somebody throw a dildo on the field at the Buffalo Bills game again?
Not quite that. Not quite that. Yeah, not quite that.
Yeah,
this was reported by clevescene.com on September 7th. So there's a reporter that works for ESPN Cleveland. His name is Aaron Goldhammer. And he was so certain that the Cleveland Browns NFL team would not pick a quarterback in the NFL draft this year by the name of Baker Mayfield. He was so certain that they would not take Mr. Mayfield that he said on the air that if they draft him, he's going to eat horse shit.
Oh, great.
Of course, the Cleveland Browns with that first pick in the NFL draft, and I wonder if the GM kind of partly did it for that reason, but they drafted Mr. Baker Mayfield, which means that for the last 4 months, this guy has been dragging his feet while his coworkers have been on him, and they've been on him, and kind of like Buddy with the hat, Rob with the hat. They've been on him, and they've been on him, and finally, Mr. Aaron Goldhammer came through this week. We have the video. This is courtesy of Dustin A. at ANut1331 on Twitter. Now, you're going to see the bowl of this thing. Oh, you said there's no audio?
You can talk over
Okay,
the video,
put the video up. Here's the video of Mr. Aaron Goldhammer right here. That right there, that's horse poop and ketchup. They put ketchup in with the horse poop. Here's Mr. Aaron. He's counting it down. And there he goes. There he goes. He's living down that promise.
That's bad.
It looks like it immediately came back up. He's got the garbage ready to go. Look at that face, man. Look at that.
What a dipshit.
Yeah. Almost literally in that situation. Yeah.
Well, at least, you know what? I've said often, hope will work at Fightful forever. But if something bad happens, at least it ain't that hard to get hired by ESPN Cleveland, apparently.
Apparently not. Apparently not. Yeah. And I was talking about this with friends the other day. Why would you make a bet like that on something that's completely out of your control? You know what I mean?
Completely out of control.
Apparently, he was convinced that they were going to pick one of two other quarterbacks. That was the backstory. He thought there's two other quarterbacks they'll likely choose instead. So he was determined that they weren't going to pick that guy, and then they did.
I wish he would have had a camera on him for his reaction for the draft pick, the actual pick.
Yes. That would have been awesome, too. Yeah. So good for him. Let's move on. I want to talk about Vince McMahon.
Okay.
Now, this news and the outcome of this news, this could go two ways. This could be really, really good, or this could be really, really disappointing. And so we'll see what happens. So ESPN reports that there are a couple of writers. One, his name is Craig Marks, and the other, his name is Rob Tannenbaum. And they were behind a book called I Want My MTV. And it was an oral history of MTV. And now they have agreed, or WWE has agreed, to allow those writers to write a book about WWE. It's going to be an oral history of WWE. And Vince McMahon himself has agreed to be involved with the project, which makes it really, really interesting. Tannenbaum said to ESPN, this is not going to be a situation where we get a 15-minute phone interview out of Vince. We're going to have unprecedented access to Vince McMahon and to the entire McMahon family. They plan to cover the history of WWE from the late 60s, early 70s, right up to present day. They plan on interviewing a minimum of 500 people, Shawn. Wow. 500 people for this book. The MTV book was 608 pages. Just to give you an idea of how detailed they are. 608 pages, and now they're planning to do this about WWE. If Vince chooses to do this the right way, this thing could be stellar. Like this could be just unprecedented. But if he chooses to go the other way of, I don't like the word wrestling and I don't like the word belt and I don't like whatever, if he chooses to go in that direction, then it's going to be very disappointing. So I'm curious what direction they go in.
Me too. And I mean, I like that WCW Nitro book that just came out because they interviewed like 120 people you don't usually hear from. So 500 interviews about
Minimum.
Vince McMahon.
Minimum. Well, not just
Minimum.
Vince McMahon, but about WWE too.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Whew. I'm excited for that. And they said, what, within the next 2 years? I think it might take them a little longer than that.
Yep. So apparently, like the story behind the book concept is interesting in itself, because apparently they've been trying for years to get permission. And apparently every year, like once or twice a year, they've been calling the office. And once or twice a year, they've been told, not interested, not interested. Then they call the next year. Then they call the next year. Finally, for whatever reason, this was the year that Vince McMahon agreed to do it. I'm kind of wondering, kind of like with Bret Hart, where Bret Hart decided to go back to Raw, and the catalyst for that was that Bret didn't want to be forgotten. That was a big thing to him, right?
Yeah.
He didn't want to be forgotten. Bret even said in the ring live on Raw, he said something like, it's good to know I'm not forgotten, or never to be forgotten. I wonder if Vince is thinking now, I'm 73 years old, I'm getting ready to kind of hand the keys off to Hunter. I wonder if he's thinking, I want to make sure that I'm not forgotten and that my story is told. Maybe that's what he's thinking.
He also has that screw you money from Fox, USA, Saudi Arabia right now. He doesn't have to worry that much.
He already had
about
screw you money, although he's put so much of it into the XFL, but he already had a bunch of screw you money.
Exactly. You know? He'd have way more than that now had he waited to do that.
I don't think
also, or maybe not done that at all. That would have been a good call too.
Yep. But I'm very anxiously anticipating that one, and we'll see what happens, and we'll see how good it is. So, Melissa, are you an award show fan?
Not particularly, no.
Shawn, you?
No.
So
I hate the Grammys. I hate the Oscars. It's the most boring shit I've ever seen.
So I don't use the word hate often, but I hate award shows. I hate award shows. The reason I hate award shows is because to me it's the glorification of celebrity. I feel like we talked about this before. To me it's the glorification of celebrity. These people are already grossly overpaid compared to everybody else. They already get all these perks and everything. And now on top of that, they get to like walk on the red carpet wearing $1 million jewelry while the commoners are sitting behind fences and barricades. I hate the whole concept of the thing. But you know who doesn't, Shawn? Vince McMahon.
Correct.
And I am convinced, Shawn, and again, we've talked about this before, I am convinced that for decades, Vince McMahon has craved mainstream acceptance. He has craved it. And they did the thing this year where they tried to get into the Emmys, right? They did the big pitch and the big presentation, because I think that he craves that mainstream acceptance from the entertainment world. And so I think he does. And so what's happened now?
Oh boy.
They have a new 5-year deal with NBC Universal for, again, $1.325 billion for 5 years. NBC Universal owns a little station called the E! Network, which airs Total Divas and Total Bellas. This year, on September 24th, for the first time ever, a little award show called the People's Choice Awards is going to air on E! Previously, they aired on CBS, but because it's an award show that nobody gives a shit about, now it's going to air on E! As of this year. And when you know, Shawn, for the first time ever, let's look at some of this stuff for a minute, Shawn.
Oh, when you get to this game changer of the year.
Let's start with reality TV show of the year. Now, I will say this, I didn't write down every nominee. They have like 10 people per category, like 10 nominees per category. Reality TV star of the year. It includes such notables as Kim Kardashian, Snooki, RuPaul, and Nikki Bella.
So basically your idols, Jimmy.
All of my idols, people, I have posters on my walls. My wife hates them, but that's what we do. And speaking of my wife, I got to give her credit. When they did the People's Choice announcement on Monday night, my wife, the casual fan sitting next to me on the couch, goes, "Somebody paid for that," she said. So another category that they have, Show of 2018, Shawn. Show of 2018. And they have such shows as Big Bang Theory, This Is Us, The Walking Dead, Modern Family, and WWE Monday Night Raw.
Oh boy. Well, let me tell you, Raw might be the best of those shows.
And then of course, Game Changer of 2018. Oh. Now, they didn't say sports related, but given the nominees, it was sports related. So like Sports Game Changer of 2018. Colin Kaepernick, who's all over right now because of the Nike deal, right? Serena Williams, LeBron James, Cristiano Ronaldo, who might be the biggest star in all of soccer, and Nia Jax.
I didn't think those were the ones. I thought it was like Allie Raisman and...
No, the Game Changer of the Year was... Well, there's more.
Wow.
I only named off 4.
Well, they announced a completely different set.
No, they said Serena Williams on TV. They said Serena on TV.
I know, but they didn't say Colin Kaepernick and LeBron James on WWE Raw.
I think Colin, they didn't want to deal with any potential shit.
I don't think they... Yeah, but, I mean, still, he's a nominee.
Yeah.
I had somebody with the balls
to
say to me, oh, she was the face of an anti-bullying campaign for $1 billion company. Piss off, mate! Get the fuck out of here with that! No!
This is all political. And you know what, Shawn? Again, knowing that Vince is so determined to be accepted by the mainstream, I would not put it past him, and Stephanie is his little mini-me, I wouldn't put it past both of them to tell NBC Universal, if you want this new deal, you're putting in the contract that we're getting nominated for People's Choice Awards.
Of course.
Like, I wouldn't put it past him to have put that in the contract, Shawn. You know?
It's so pointless.
Can you believe this? Now, the only thing I will say about this whole thing is, are you a fan of The Simpsons, Shawn?
I used to be.
So there's an episode of The Simpsons, this is like way back, where Homer's telling the story about when he was part of a barbershop quartet.
Yeah.
And when they're telling the story, towards the end of the story...
On board.
Yeah, Baby on Board. Towards the end of the story, they win a Grammy, right? And Homer's in his hotel, and he's miserable because he misses his family, and he's holding the Grammy in his hand, and a bellhop comes in, gives him a bottle of champagne. Homer reaches into his pocket, doesn't have any change, so he gives the guy the Grammy as a tip. And the bellhop goes, wow, an award statue. And he looks at it and he goes, oh, it's just a Grammy. And he throws it off the balcony.
I remember that.
The Grammy is about 10 pegs above the People's Choice Awards. Might even be 15 pegs above the People's Choice Awards. Yeah. So in terms of, will there really be mainstream acceptance, aside from all of the videos they're going to do on WWE television every week? Probably not. But
it's worthless. It's pointless. And quite honestly, some of those are just downright offensive. As if WWE couldn't insult my intelligence anymore. They got to get E in on the action as well.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. And as soon as they aired that, and I'll tell you this, Shawn, when you look at this list of nominees, right? I doubt Kaepernick's going to actually be there. I doubt LeBron's going to be there. There's no chance in hell Ronaldo's going to be there. But you damn well better believe Nia Jax is going to be sitting there.
Yeah.
In the audience. Same thing if you look at like reality TV. Kardashian's probably not going to be there, but Nikki Bella will be there like 2 days early.
Oh, of course.
What I mean? She'll be there 2 days early because she's going to be primed and ready to go. So, oh man. All right, let's move on.
Not excited about that award show. I really hope that we don't have to do much coverage of it.
Now that you're saying that, I'm going to make you cover it live. I want to give props to Diamond Dallas Page. So we've had him on Fightful before. I've talked to him a couple times. He is a solid guy. What you see on TV, that is really Diamond Dallas Page. Props to him because he actually got on the Joe Rogan podcast this past week. And that is a major, anybody that's not a Joe Rogan fan or whatever, that's a major outlet now online.
Yeah, it is.
DDP got on there. It was great exposure for him. I thought he came off very, very well. And I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan. One of the things I really like about Joe Rogan is that he's very respectful of industries that he might not necessarily know everything about. And even though he's an MMA guy and he's got a judo background or whatever, he's very respectful of pro wrestling. Jiu-jitsu. So he's very respectful of pro wrestling. And he understands what goes into that. And so he really put over DDP. He put over his yoga program. I can excuse the fact that he called them Dallas Diamond Page a few times. I can excuse that. I thought it was a great thing. And DDP was also on, he did an interview with Chris Van Vliet. This just happened, I think, within the last couple of days. And he said that he did that all-in appearance for free, where he did the diamond cutter to Daivari. He said that he did that appearance for free out of respect for Cody because Page was really close to Dusty Rhodes. And he even said that he's been offered 10 grand to do a diamond cutter on indie shows, always turns him down because his body can't take that move. But he said, Chris Van Vliet said, if WWE calls me, I'm doing the diamond cutter. But he said, if it's an independent show, no. But because it was Dusty's son, he did it, and he did it for free. So props to him.
10 grand for a diamond cutter on the indies. What kind of a money mark do you have to be?
I guarantee you, Shawn, I guarantee you that it would be the promoter wanting to take the move.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Yep.
That's a good point. But yeah, I was happy to hear that because DDP knows how to keep his name relevant as well. He's very good at that.
I mean, that Rogan appearance alone, imagine the sales they probably got for his yoga program.
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was a good thing for him.
But between the podcast and the clips, it did over 1 million on Rogan's page.
Good for him, man. Good for him. Good for him. DDP seems like a good dude. I wish nothing but good things for him. Speaking of Chris Van Vliet, he interviewed Joey Ryan. And this was right after All In. Right after All In. And there were two things about that interview that I found interesting and surprising. The first was how reserved Joey Ryan is.
Incredibly.
Amazingly, right? So this guy goes on TV, he's kind of flamboyant, and he does the popsicle or the lollipop thing, and he's got the penis druids at All In, and he's having everybody hold his dick for the stupid flip that I think is really, really dumb and I don't like, but he has them all do it, and he's got all this stuff about him. Off camera or out of character, he's reserved, he's quiet, he's introverted even. Like a very
he is
like a 180 from, you know, when they always say that the best characters are guys who are the real person with the volume turned up. He's a complete 180. Like the real guy.
I actually hit him up Thursday when I put together the penis druid article that went 2,500 words. I had to reach out to people, and I didn't have a lot of time to like call people on the phone. And when I interviewed the first penis druid, that was the only audio interview I did. I got text responses from everybody else.
Right.
So Jeff Jarrett, Shane Helms, Joey Ryan. Joey Ryan was the last one. I had to get back. He got back to me after like a 5-hour MLW show.
Right. And
the next day, even after he missed his flight, he was gracious enough to give me a response. And he seemed like very... Like, oh, what are you doing? Oh, okay.
Yeah, very reserved.
Sure, very nice guy.
Yeah, so that was the first thing that surprised me. The second thing that surprised me, Sean, maybe it shouldn't surprise me, is that Joey Ryan claimed that wrestling fans send him dick pics.
Oh, I'm not surprised by that at all. I've told you the Vince Russo story.
Every week, Sean.
Correct, about how I was on the air and somebody just, bam, hit me up and sent a picture of their dick and it said, "Fuck Vince Russo." I hadn't worked with Vince in 6 months. Mm-hmm. So I am not surprised that.
What are wrestling fans trying to get out of that? Sending Joey Ryan a picture of their dick?
Well, he said he didn't know if it was a "hey, I've got a dick too" type of thing, or check out our dicks. Not my type of deal. I don't know.
You know something, man? Every now and then you'll meet somebody and maybe they're into something that you think is unique in terms of entertainment. And sometimes you'll meet people that are into something unique and they're almost embarrassed to talk to you about it because they're expecting you to be negative or shit on it. And what I always tell people is, I'm not going to judge you because I like pro wrestling. And that's what I always tell people, right? This is the stereotype of pro wrestling fans. And this is the one thing I hate about wrestling, is the stereotypical wrestling fans. I was showing Shawn, and I think I put it on social media, the Fan Expo was last week in Toronto. And I've talked about this before. They had 2 weeks ago now. They had Triple H and AJ Styles, Charlotte, and The Miz. And what I didn't know until last week, Shawn, was that they actually did a Q&A session with the four of them with a live audience. And if you go on YouTube, you can find the clip. They only did about like 15 or 20 minutes of a Q&A. And I couldn't believe the quality of questions from these people, and I was asking Shawn, do you think they vetted them? And do you think that they've screened them?
Like 8 minutes, man. I made it through like 8 minutes of that trash.
They had 2 guys. How many people do you think asked questions in total? 5 or 6 total. That's all it was.
Yeah.
2 of them asked Hunter for a job. 2 of them actually asked Hunter for a job.
Even from a fan aspect, because this is fans. This isn't like a media press conference.
No, these were fans. Yeah.
But still, like from a fan perspective, I'm like, damn, do better. There are wrestling fans on my Twitter who make costumes that look better than what the wrestlers have made for themselves. Right. Like, there are some real bright, wonderful people that are really introspective and smart.
Yeah.
And it's like, man, vet your questions. Or have kids ask the damn questions.
Yeah. Now, I will say, I guess...
No kid can ask a stupid question.
No, I will say in defense of the Fan Expo that there was 1 or 2 guys that have disabilities. And so you can probably excuse them. But there were other guys. Just asked stupid shit. One guy said, "Hey AJ, I hope you put Samoa Joe. I hope you send Samoa Joe home in a body bag." He said. One guy said that. Then, like I said, 2 guys asked Hunter for a job. Hunter was amazing, and I loved Hunter's response to the second guy when he said, you know what? After this, I'm going to give you Vince's number. You can call him direct because he loves that.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really good.
I had told you off the air, I like Dana White's response when people do that. He goes, you have a resume? Then why are you asking me?
Right, right. It's just so embarrassing that these guys do that. Like, do they think that's going to get them hired? That they look like plugs going to a fan Q&A, asking Triple H on the spot, hey, I'm looking to work for your... Like, my goodness, man. It's brutal. It's brutal.
Speaking of plugs, I'd like to plug my Twitter account where I have been posting screenshots of Melissa throughout this broadcast.
Oh, no way.
different emotions of Melissa. I have a thread going.
You should see her face right now. Oh, you probably can. You can probably see her face right now. Awesome.
I can see her face right now, actually.
Now, since you mentioned Vince Russo a minute ago, Shawn, about how, Vince Russo, somebody sent you a dick pic when you're talking to Vince Russo. Melissa, put up that tweet from Vince Russo. Put that up.
Well, he...
So Vince Russo put this up today, September 12th. It says, I just got the formats for next week's Raw and Smackdown shows. Take that, Shawn Ross Sapp. Here's a sneak peek. This has got to be better than last week, and it was a test pattern.
Yeah.
What do you think of the fact that Russo, he's doing it to shit on the company and be funny, but he's got a finger on a pulse about you, man.
Oh, I thought it was funny, honestly.
Yeah.
I had a talk with Vince recently, and he said that he didn't agree with me posting that stuff, and lucky for him, I'm not going to be.
We'll see. We'll see. And I don't care if you agree with you or not, because it was something that you needed to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's my job. I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to. My job is, if I get information like that, is to vet it, then relay it, and inform my audience. And one of my favorite parts about my job is learning, too, and I learn a lot from that.
There you go.
As you found out, Jimmy, and as Alex says, WWE has cut the tops off of their Nike socks in order to keep me from finding out this information of late.
We'll see how long it lasts. I want to talk about The Rock for a minute, and I guess this isn't The Rock. This is his daughter Simone, if we're being technical. Pro Wrestling Sheet reports that Simone, who is only 17, Shawn, has started training part-time at the Performance Center in Orlando. She's serious about getting into wrestling upon graduation. Now, we know the story about Nia Jax, right? Nia Jax went to WrestleMania, I think when Rock was in there, either with Cena or it might have been the Ronda Rousey one. Nia Jax was there with Rock's mom as a spectator and thought, this is something I might like to do. And because she's related to The Rock, she got fast-tracked into developmental and fast-tracked to the main roster. You better damn well believe that if Simone Johnson in 3-4 years decides, yeah, I definitely want to do this, she is going to get fast-tracked in record time. Because can you imagine WWE thinking, if we have Rock's daughter, we got The Rock. You know what I mean?
Hit the bricks, Nia Jax.
If there's ever going to be a likelihood of Rock staying involved with WWE, it's if his daughter is on the roster, right? So, so you know that they're going to be all over that one. Let's talk about...
they should be too. And she has a real interest. She's continued friendships with a lot of these wrestlers. She is in contact, I'm told, with several wrestlers on the main roster and NXT regularly, like daily. I mean, she really loves wrestling.
Do you think she's aware? I mean, I'm sure Nia would probably tell her. Do you think she's aware of the grind and aware of the abuse on your body?
I don't think she is to that degree. I mean, I know she's been at the Performance Center, and those people know it to a small degree. Those who have been on the Indies,
Nia Jax would know it though, and they're related.
Nia would know it, but look at how long's Nia been on the main roster?
A couple years.
How many breaks has she taken already?
Yeah, that's very true. Which she can get away with doing.
Yes, she can.
Yeah.
Yes, she can. Also, it was very hard for me to not crack up during that because I was watching Melissa discover all of the pictures of her on Twitter, which gave me more reactionary shots to then post on Twitter.
I don't know if she's too happy about that, Shawn. I don't know. You might have stepped over a line on that. You might have.
Well, how about this, Melissa?
People go to jail for this, Shawn.
Yeah, because you posted stuff without her consent on social media. There might be a line you're crossing on that one.
Well, you know what? We're going to cross a line because I'm going to fight Melissa soon.
We already fought. I won.
I'm laying down the challenge, Melissa.
Oh, I think you definitely laid down.
Melissa, psst, shut the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta make like it hasn't happened yet, Melissa.
God damn, Melissa.
I mean, who knows the outcomes?
Yeah. So let's talk about Chris Jericho because he addressed his All In appearance on his podcast this past week. And I want to read you a quote from Jericho and get your thoughts. Remember last week you and I were talking about, hey, the whole not working in the U.S., do you think that his run-in counted? Do you think it didn't count? So here's what Jericho said. He said, over the course of the last few months, my mindset has kind of changed a bit to where I'm enjoying being a part of this kind of new revolution of wrestling that's going on. So I just thought, well, I'll consider it, but the idea has to be right. He said that what happened was Cody hit him up about being Bernard the Bear. Because, they always have somebody else be Bernard the Bear, including apparently there's a joke about Batista being Bernard the Bear. But,
I don't know how much of a joke it was.
Well, I don't think Dave's going to do that. I don't even know if he... Sorry?
They had Kenny Omega do it once for one of his first appearances in the States in a long time.
Yeah. Well, anyway, so he said that Cody pitched him that idea, and Jericho wasn't into it because Cody wanted him to attack Ibushi in the main event. And he thought, well, I don't really have a story with him, and there's no future match planned with him. And then they came upon the idea of, what if I jump Kenny? We do it earlier in the show because I got a Fozzy gig. And he even thought about maybe I could move the Fozzy gig, maybe move it earlier up in the day, and then I can do that gig first and then do the show. They ended up leaving the gig where it was. They did the Omega match earlier in the show to make him do it. Based on hearing him talk about the revolution of wrestling outside WWE, I think the odds of him returning to WWE outside of one-offs is probably pretty low now, I think.
Yeah, I would think so. He understands the shift in the business and how to keep himself relevant and how to keep himself hot in the industry. Melissa has to stop distracting me during this show. But
okay, we're gonna make sure in future weeks there is no camera that lets Shawn see Melissa.
We gotta have it.
No, we're not, because I can't have you distracted the whole time.
I think we need it up in the top of our little thing, like a little square in between both of us. But anyway, Chris Jericho understands. But I gotta think, now that we mention it, it's a good thing they didn't have him attack Ibushi with that time crunch.
Oh, they couldn't have. They couldn't have.
They couldn't have done it.
No.
Jericho saw the right opportunity, and man, that was a good one. Dressing up as Pentagon, that is a moment that people were going to remember.
Yep, it was really good. It was.
He's really savvy about that stuff, and
he's
a lot
not
of people,
stupid. Yeah.
A lot of people aren't. He understands what he has to do in order to get over and stay over, and then, okay, maybe people are forgetting about me a little bit. Now they're going to remember me again.
Yep, and actually the one-offs, even WWE one-offs, just make them that much hotter, as opposed to being a weekly talent. That's why it worked for Brock. And I got to tell you, man, and I was talking to my wife about this on Monday. I feel like they're dropping the ball with Ronda Rousey. Like
it seems so. She that tag match exposed her, man.
Well, not just that, and yeah, the way she did the heart attack, she definitely is not Bret Hart doing that clothesline. Yeah. But I feel like she's overexposed. I feel like that she's on TV too much. And I feel like the shine that she had at the Royal Rumble when she came in, I feel like that shine is worn off. So
well, the thing about her is she wants to be on TV every week.
I know she does, but I don't know. She should be a unique level talent. She should be a Brock Lesnar level talent. Not that I'm saying that she should be off TV for months at a time like Brock was. Yeah. But what about once a month or something?
I get what you mean.
You know what I mean?
I get what you mean. But with the level of time killing they had on Raw, they needed her. But I thought that match exposed her. But like I said, she wants to be there every week. She wants to be at live events. She wants to do this stuff because she wants to do it the right way. She wants to be the opposite of Brock Lesnar in that regard.
I'm cool with her doing live events because that's how she's going to get experience, and that's how she's going to get the green off, is by doing live events. Have her do live events. I personally would not have her on TV every week. I wouldn't.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Yeah. Or at the very least, maybe have her in a video package. Like have her in a sit-down interview. Have her in something like that really... And you can have her on a dark match main event. I mean, my God. Yeah. There's your dark match main event every single week on Raw.
Yeah.
Ronda Rousey throwing Alexa Bliss and armbarring her in 12 seconds.
Yep. You could do that. But I would definitely keep her off live TV, limit it to once a month, make her special. They haven't released the financial terms. She's not doing that for 100 downside. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and I mean, that's also a good way, as I mentioned, the dark matches afterwards. That's a good way to get her that experience in front of big crowds that are going to react.
Right.
Give her those matches. Put her in different types of matches. Right. Make a dark match after the show, a triple threat. She can afford to screw up there.
Right.
I mean, she's 18 matches into her WWE career. She's wrestled a lot more this year than Brock did.
Probably more this year than Brock has in the last 2 or 3 years.
Well, Brock's done a lot of live events. Let me take a look. I've got his match list up here right now, but she is at 18 right now. It's the same amount that Brock has wrestled since WrestleMania of last year.
Okay. Oh, whatever. All right. One more thing on my list this week. So I noticed that some of our listeners and some of our viewers last week were surprised that I didn't mention the Shawn Michaels Undertaker promo.
Yeah.
And the reason I didn't mention it was because, number one, I had a lot of content last week to go over it, and number two, you covered it on the post-Raw show. So I didn't feel the need to do it. The only thing I'm going to say, so first off, I thought that Shawn was the one that really stole the show in that promo, much more so than The Undertaker did. But I will say this, and I think this is humorous, and I think maybe you talked about this on the post-Raw show before. John Cena spent weeks and weeks and weeks prior to WrestleMania calling out The Undertaker, almost healing on The Undertaker, disrespecting The Undertaker, calling him a coward, doing everything that he could possibly do to get The Undertaker to show up, and The Undertaker never did. All Shawn Michaels had to do was have the company announce, next week, Shawn Michaels is going to be live on Raw. That's all he had to do, and boom, Taker is there, and Taker's going to be on the show next week as well. Isn't that kind of funny? Obviously, that wasn't the intention, but but isn't it funny? All they got to do is say Shawn's going to be there, and there's Taker, but Cena, you're a coward, and you're a pussy, and you suck, and no Undertaker.
That's what Alex was saying on the post-Raw show. He was like, Cena begs him every week.
Yeah.
Shawn Michaels, just is like, Undertaker, and all of a sudden, poof, Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah.
Like, damn.
Yeah.
They can't get people to show up in Columbus for the Arnold Classic, and 100,000 people are there.
That's right.
My God, man. I did love the segment, though, and I'm interested to see how they build this over the next few weeks. Undertaker's going to be on Raw next week.
Yeah.
And here we were last year thinking Undertaker was going to hang it up. Doesn't look like he is anytime soon.
No, and I mean, obviously the Cena match, he was protected. The Rusev match at Greatest Royal Rumble was You know what I mean? So,
it wasn't good.
I mean, Hunter is a pro, and, you know, if anybody's gonna throw himself around and sell like hell for The Undertaker, it's going to be Triple H. So he'll do what he can to make that match good, but I don't know, man. I mean, whether he's in good shape or not, he's still in his 50s, and he's beaten up. So how much can you possibly do?
I'm inclined to agree.
I guess one other thing we'll talk about, since there's a lot of rumors talking about Shawn Michaels. So there's rumors about Shawn Michaels at the Saudi show. Now, I thought that show is not going to be televised. That was the rumor, that they're not going to televise that show.
And wouldn't... I mean, the amount of money they can give him for that show is obscene.
It is, but if you're not going to televise it, why would you? And why would he do it?
Fill up the arena, maybe.
No, but why would he do it? What's the incentive to him?
I can't pretend to know how Shawn Michaels operates. I mean, he's legitimately stayed away for 7 years.
Yeah.
And,
or as he said, almost a decade.
Almost a decade. Yeah, it's decade in WWE years, you know. The 10-foot ladder is a 20-foot ladder because somebody standing on top of it is 6 feet tall.
Right.
But I don't have an answer here. Shawn Michaels isn't the type of guy I can reach out to. I mean, people like to speak to at the Performance Center say he is a wonderful help and really, really understands how to put together a match today. I mean, you want to look at the difference between today's wrestling and 7 years ago. I did a retro review with Alex Andresen, our champion-level subscriber over at FightfulSelect.com. We did a retro review podcast. We're spoiled today with the in-ring work. It was garbage in 2010. It was trash, and I've had a lot of people at the Performance Center say that Shawn really understands even how it shifted in that amount of time. I would be lying. I'm not one of those guys that's like, oh, I don't need to see Shawn. I do want to see Shawn Michaels wrestle again. I do want to.
I mean, he's in great shape, and I bet he could still probably work a passable match. I mean, he's going to be Ricochet, no, but he could probably still work a passable match, you know.
I watch Pierre Carl Ouellette wrestle like once a month, once every other month.
Right.
I watch friggin' Quebecer Pierre. Hell yeah, I'm going to watch and want to watch Shawn Michaels wrestle.
Yeah.
So I'm all for that, and I do want it to happen. I mean, maybe even if it's selfishly for...
Yeah. Have you heard a lot about his financial situation? Because if you read his second book, he basically indicated that he wasn't well off financially, like he couldn't retire.
Yeah, and that's the case with a lot of pro wrestlers. I mean, you got to retire at 30 or 40s instead of 60s, 70s. Yeah. And I know he's getting paid pretty well at the Performance Center.
Yeah, well, I think that's one reason he took the job. I mean, I'm sure he missed the business. I'm sure he likes being around the guys, but I think he took it because he needed to.
Yeah, but I have heard about him doing stuff like he'll take or offer to take everybody there to see movies. And
that's cool.
Like all kinds of cool stuff. Like he's a real mentor there, and
that's cool.
He is one of those guys that you hear about. Oh, the Shawn Michaels in the '90s, completely different guy.
I would love to ask Bret Hart about that because I'll never forget when Bret Hart. I think Bret Hart was on Off the Record, and this is when Shawn came back born again. And Michael Landsberg, the host, said to Bret Hart, there's lots of stories now about how Shawn has changed and he's found religion and everything. And Bret Hart said, a leopard doesn't change his spots.
Well,
that was before. That was before Bret came back.
Yeah.
So I'd like to know his thoughts now because it seems like they're pretty friendly now.
Yeah, Bret's a bitter fellow too.
Yeah,
but
he is.
You guys won't be bitter if you subscribe to FightfulSelect.com. Of course, Fightful Wrestling brings you all your free stuff. But FightfulSelect.com is our premier service. 2 Q&A shows a month, a retro review show every month, access to our photo gallery, outtake of behind-the-scenes footage, a weekly BTE, Lucha Underground, Impact, New Japan, Ring of Honor wrap-up show called The Weekender, where I also give you all an injury report and break down exclusive news from the weekly Fightful Wrestling Weekly. We have the 205 Live NXT review show every week, where Warren Hayes has also been covering Mae Young Classic. We have dark match commentary every other week. We have samples of a lot of this stuff on YouTube where you just check out our playlist and it'll pop up and say Fightful Select Previews. 1 tier up, we have Stupid People Extended, early access to articles in the Fightful Wrestling Weekly, an e-copy of Jimmy Van's book.
Did you mention the mask?
Shirt.
He's not mentioning any of the physical rewards.
Yeah, did you mention the mask?
Do I need to
air that video again?
Sticker on the first tier.
Speaking of Shawn Michaels, I got to tell you this because I'm a little distracted. Speaking of Shawn Michaels, your shirt is so white. Like you've been bleaching that thing. That thing is so white. It's practically shining on the back of your chair. Like you see that, Melissa? Like it's shining.
Wow.
If I could get you like a white hat, you could be Shawn Michaels from the Heaven and Hell concept with Taker at WrestleMania. You could do the rising up. Or I guess Shawn came down, right? Yeah, he came down from the heavens. But that thing is bright, man.
Shirt so white it eats mayonnaise on everything, I guess.
Looks like it.
What else you got, Jimmy?
That's all I got today, man. We're going to do Stupid People Extended after this. FightfulSelect.com. We got 3 more good ones for you guys, so check that out.
Check it out. Subscribe. I'm going to be running contests soon. We will be running contests soon based on commenting on stories over at Fightful.com, our Discus community. Please join that. You can interact with me. Hell in a Cell this Sunday.
I was actually telling Shawn off the air. So right here, I have a event poster for UFC. What number is it, Shawn? 229?
229.
Okay, so I have the event poster here for 229, Conor McGregor and Khabib. There's a pub I go to in Toronto a lot. I know the owner. He got the shipment of posters today, had an extra one, gave it to me. I'm on the fence. Should I keep it? Should I give it away? Should I make it a contest prize?
Well, if you mention it now, we got to give it away.
No, we don't necessarily. I could just get some live feedback on the chat. I have a buddy in sports memorabilia that could maybe get me to Conor McGregor, so I might be able to get this autographed. So I'm on the fence if I should keep it or give it away. What do you think, Shawn? Should I keep it or give it away?
Well, I mean, I'm rather fond of the person you were speaking of giving it to. So, I mean, I was like, man, I don't want to...
Maybe I'll just do that. That'd probably be the nice thing to do.
Them.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that.
Please check out the Fightful MMA podcast. Myself, Showdown Joe, James Lynch. James Lynch has a great inside track on a lot of stories in the MMA world. As connected as anybody is right now. So make sure you all check that out, FightfulMMA.com. This Saturday, myself and Carlos Toro coming at you live after Triple G Canelo 2. I can't wait for that fight. And, of course, Hell in a Cell. You all can see all of our podcasts at FightfulPods.com, but we are everywhere. Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Libsyn, all over the place. No excuse not to find us. Follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Follow Jimmy at JimmyVan74, but most importantly, visit Fightful.com.
We're out.